I knew the exact moment the company was finished. It wasn't when the quarterly reports came back looking like a crime scene, and it wasn't when they replaced the decent break room coffee with some fair trade sludge that tasted like regret. It was the moment Brad Wilson walked through those glass doors. Name's Shane Rodriguez. I'm 46 years old, and I've been keeping the lights on at this place for 22 years. In tech years, that makes me a fossil. I'm the guy who built the backbone that keeps our 3 manufacturing plants from grinding to a halt when holiday orders slam our systems like a freight train hitting a brick wall. Brad was the new CTO, a 33-year-old Harvard MBA wrapped in a tailored suit and reeking of expensive cologne and unearned confidence. He strutted into the conference room like he was Steve Jobs unveiling the iPhone, except his audience was just a bunch of tired engineers silently calculating their 401k balances and wondering how much longer they had until retirement. I was sitting in the corner with my usual styrofoam cup of lukewarm disappointment, watching him survey the room with those calculating eyes. My Navy training kicked in. Assess the threat, identify weaknesses, plan accordingly. To Brad, I was just some old guy in a faded polo shirt who looked like he desperately needed 8 hours of sleep and a vacation to somewhere tropical. "All right, team," Brad started, clapping his hands together like a motivational speaker at a pyramid scheme convention. "I've been reviewing our architecture, and honestly, it's a disaster. We're talking about seriously outdated infrastructure here. We're pivoting to a fully cloud-native, containerized ecosystem by Q4. This is going to revolutionize how we operate." He threw up a slide on the projector. It was a meaningless diagram of circles and arrows that looked like someone trying to map out a conspiracy theory after drinking too much coffee and reading too many business blogs. I squinted at it, my reading glasses reflecting the projector light. He was proposing to delete the central manufacturing execution system, the core of our entire operation. That outdated infrastructure he was dismissing so casually, that was my creation. That was the system I built during the 2008 supply chain crisis, fueled by energy drinks and pure determination, working 18-hour days while the rest of the industry was falling apart. It literally saved this company when everyone else's systems were failing like dominoes in an earthquake. "Excuse me," I said, my voice rougher than usual from years of explaining complex systems to people who didn't want to understand them. I hadn't spoken in a meeting in months. Learned to keep my mouth shut and let the young guys make their presentations. Heads turned like I was some ghost from the past suddenly materializing. That infrastructure handles 87% of our production scheduling and vendor synchronization across all 3 plants. You delete that module and you're not just pivoting, you're performing corporate suicide in broad daylight. Brad turned to me with that expression I'd seen 1,000 times before, the one that doesn't reach beyond the surface, perfected while listening to business podcasts at double speed during his morning jogs. He looked at my graying hair, my company polo that had seen better days, the slight paunch that comes from 22 years of desk work and vending machine dinners, then checked his Apple Watch like my existence was wasting his precious time. "And you are?" he asked, feigning ignorance with the skill of a politician. He knew exactly who I was. I was the line item on the budget that made the CFO's eye twitch every quarter, but which he refused to eliminate because the whole place would collapse without me like a house of cards in a windstorm. "Shane Rodriguez," I said, keeping it simple. "No need for fancy titles or credentials. I built the foundation you're planning to demolish." Brad chuckled, a wet, patronizing sound that made my skin crawl like fingernails on a chalkboard. "Right, Shane. Listen, buddy, I appreciate what you accomplished back in the day, but we're not running a technology museum here. We're engineering the future, and frankly, your monolithic architecture is creating dependencies that are killing our agility. We need scalability. We need flexibility. We don't need whatever this patchwork situation is." The word patchwork hung in the air like spoiled milk left out in the sun. The other engineers stared at their laptops, terrified to make eye contact. They knew what I knew. I wasn't just the architect. I wasn't even technically a full employee anymore. But Brad was too busy admiring his own reflection in the glass conference wall to do his homework on the people who actually kept this place running. See, back in 2016, when I was going through my divorce and needed some financial flexibility to deal with lawyer fees and splitting assets, my attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Wells, who operates out of a converted warehouse downtown and drinks bourbon like a sailor, came up with a different arrangement. Instead of just being an employee collecting a paycheck, I incorporated my own consulting entity, Rodriguez System Solutions, LLC. I licensed the core manufacturing execution platform to the company under a vendor agreement. Think of it like leasing a building instead of renting an apartment. You don't own the property, but you pay for the right to use it. And like any smart property owner, I kept the master access and all the important keys. Brad didn't know that. Brad saw a middle-aged guy with gray temples and reading glasses and assumed I was legacy dead weight from a different era, probably counting down the days until my pension kicked in. He thought he was firing an obstacle to progress. He didn't realize he was trying to evict the landlord while still living in the building and expecting the utilities to keep working. "Okay, Brad," I said, leaning back in my chair with the calm that comes from 22 years of watching corporate hotshots come and go like seasonal fashion trends. "You're the boss. Agility, scalability, got it. Makes perfect sense." He smirked, turning back to point at his meaningless diagram again. "Excellent. We're going to start phasing out the legacy modules immediately. HR will be conducting some organizational restructuring to support the new vision. We need to streamline our talent pool to match our technological evolution." Restructuring. Organizational realignment. Corporate speak for firing the people who actually understand how everything works and replacing them with cheaper alternatives who know the latest buzzwords but couldn't troubleshoot a printer if their lives depended on it. I didn't argue. I didn't throw my coffee at him, though the urge was strong enough to make my hand shake slightly. 22 years in corporate trenches teaches you something the Navy couldn't: how to stay calm when amateurs are about to blow everything up. I just sat there watching him lecture about synergies and optimization while mentally calculating the blast radius of his incompetence. My heart wasn't even pounding. That's the thing about being in the trenches this long. You don't panic when the amateur pulls the pin on the grenade. You just note the time, assess the situation, and start planning your exit strategy. I looked at my phone calendar. My licensing contract renewed automatically every quarter unless formally contested. The next maintenance payment was due in 6 days. Section 4 of my contract was very specific about what happens if the licensee attempts to modify, reverse engineer, or diminish the integrity of the provided technology without proper authorization. Section 6 was what Patricia Wells called the nuclear option: immediate termination of service for breach of contract. Brad wrapped up the meeting with his trademark "Let's execute" team and marched out, probably heading straight to the executive break room to drink a protein smoothie and post inspirational quotes on LinkedIn about disrupting legacy mindsets. I stayed seated for a moment, finishing my cold coffee and watching the other engineers file out like prisoners heading back to their cells. Casey Johnson, a junior developer I'd trained over the past 3 years not to accidentally wipe production databases, looked over at me with the worried eyes of someone who'd just watched his mentor get marked for execution. "Shane," he whispered, glancing around to make sure Brad was out of earshot. "Are you okay? He's going to cut you. Everyone knows it. The whole restructuring thing is just corporate speak for cleaning house." I crushed the styrofoam cup in my hand and tossed it into the recycling bin with the precision that comes from years of practice. Military habits die hard. Even your trash disposal has to be efficient. "Don't worry about me, Casey," I said, standing up and smoothing out my polo shirt. "Just do me a favor. If you see me walking out with a cardboard box later this week, don't help me carry it. Just head straight back to your desk and make sure your LinkedIn profile is current. Trust me on this." I walked back to my designated workspace. Not quite a cubicle, not quite an office, but a corner spot I'd claimed through seniority and stubbornness, and logged into my private administration console. Not the company one with all their monitoring and restrictions, but the one hosted on a secure server in Iceland that I pay $80 a month for, worth every penny for what was coming. Brad wanted a revolution. He was about to get a very expensive education in the difference between theory and reality. The isolation started subtle, like carbon monoxide poisoning. You don't notice it until you're already halfway gone. First, it was the calendar invites. The weekly architecture meeting that I'd been running for 8 years suddenly vanished from my schedule. Then the strategy planning sessions disappeared. I found myself sitting in my corner, listening to the muffled sounds of discussion coming from the glass-walled conference room 15 feet away. Through the transparent walls, I could see Brad in there giving his presentations, pointing at a whiteboard that I used to control like a general commanding troops. He was systematically erasing my diagrams, complex functional architectures showing data flow between systems that took years to perfect, and replacing them with buzzwords written in different colored markers: holistic integration, platform-agnostic mindset, synergistic optimization. It's fascinating how quickly you become invisible in corporate America. 22 years of 80-hour weeks, 22 years of waking up at 2 a.m. to patch critical vulnerabilities so the CEO could sleep peacefully in his lake house. 22 years of being the guy everyone called when things went sideways. And suddenly you're a ghost, walking through hallways where people you'd shared lunch with for years started avoiding eye contact. They could smell termination on me like decay. In corporate culture, getting fired is contagious. Stand too close to the victim and management might decide you're part of the problem that needs solving. Then came Jordan Walsh, my replacement. Brad introduced him on Wednesday during the morning stand-up that I was no longer invited to attend. I heard about it secondhand from Casey, who looked like he'd just witnessed a public execution. Team, Brad had announced with the enthusiasm of a carnival barker, meet Jordan Walsh. He's our new solutions architect. Fresh perspectives, cutting-edge methodologies. He's going to be leading the transition to our new cloud-native infrastructure. Jordan comes to us from a very successful stint optimizing systems for a Fortune 500 logistics company. Jordan looked like he was fresh out of graduate school, probably still had student loan debt and optimism about changing the world through better algorithms. He came over to my desk later that afternoon holding an oat milk latte and wearing pristine white sneakers that had never touched a dirty server room floor. The kid had that eager puppy energy that made you simultaneously want to protect him and warn him about the harsh realities ahead. "Hey, Shane, right?" Jordan said, practically bouncing on his heels. "Brad told me you're the institutional memory around here. That's so cool, like a living archive. I'd love to pick your brain about the existing code architecture before we sunset the legacy systems. I'm really excited to learn from someone with your experience before we modernize everything. Institutional memory, sunset, legacy systems." The corporate euphemisms were piling up like snow in a blizzard. To this kid, I wasn't a skilled professional with 2 decades of hard-won expertise. I was a museum exhibit, something quaint to study briefly before being discarded. I swiveled my chair around slowly, the way a battleship turns its guns toward a new target. "Jordan, do you know what a race condition is?" He blinked, clearly not expecting a pop quiz. "Well, yeah, absolutely, conceptually speaking. But we use microservices architecture now, right? Everything's containerized and stateless, so race conditions are basically solved by design. The cloud handles all that distributed computing complexity automatically." "Sure," I said, turning back to my screens where real monitoring data showed the actual state of our very much not stateless systems, containerized microservices. Because the cloud is just magical sky technology, not actual physical hardware running in warehouses that overheat if you don't optimize your database queries properly. And stateless systems that somehow still need to maintain state for manufacturing schedules, inventory tracking, and vendor payments. Good luck with that, Jordan. He wandered off looking confused but still optimistic, like a tourist who'd just gotten directions to a place that doesn't exist but was determined to find it anyway. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. He was walking into a minefield with a map drawn by someone who thought landmines were a theoretical concept discussed in business school case studies. By Friday, my access to the staging environment was revoked. I got a generic automated email at 3:47 p.m. System permissions updated by admin B. Wilson. No explanation, no courtesy heads up, just digital exile delivered with the warmth of a parking ticket. I didn't fight it. I didn't storm into Brad's corner office demanding explanations or threatening to escalate to HR. 22 years in this business teaches you to pick your battles, and this wasn't the hill to die on. Instead, I simply opened my personal laptop, my trusty Dell that had survived 3 moves, 2 coffee spills, and 1 very messy divorce, and checked the bank account for Rodriguez System Solutions, LLC. It was the 3rd of the month. The quarterly licensing fee for the core manufacturing execution system was due at midnight on the 9th. Usually, Steve Garcia, the previous CFO who actually understood how contracts worked and why they mattered, had it set up on automatic payment through their vendor management system. Steve was old school, read every contract, paid bills on time, understood that relationships matter more than quarterly optimization. But Steve had been restructured last month too. another casualty of Brad's efficiency initiatives. Replaced by some kid fresh out of business school who probably thought vendor payments were just numbers in a spreadsheet, not actual relationships with real consequences. I refreshed the banking page. No pending transactions. I refreshed again 2 hours later. Still nothing. I sat there in my corner workspace, the blue light of the monitor reflecting off my reading glasses, feeling a strange mixture of anticipation and the kind of calm that comes before a storm. They were ignoring the payment. In their arrogance, in their assumption that corporate hierarchy trumped legal contracts, they thought that since I was sitting in a cubicle collecting what they believed was a salary, they didn't need to honor the vendor agreement. They thought they owned me, therefore they thought they owned the code. Big mistake. I pulled up the contract on my personal system. I keep digital copies of everything, but I also have the original signed in wet ink by the company founder, secure in a fireproof safe at home next to my discharge papers and my ex-wife's final divorce decree. Some documents are too important to trust to the cloud. Clause 3.1, payment obligations. Failure to remit licensing fees within 24 hours of the due date constitutes a material breach of this agreement. Clause 3.2, cure period. There is no cure period for willful non-payment or unauthorized modification of the source material. Brad had already violated the unauthorized modification clause by instructing his team to start integrating their new containerized systems on top of my core platform without proper authentication keys or approval protocols. And now he was about to violate the payment clause. I could have walked into his office. I could have warned him. I could have said, "Hey, hotshot, you're about to default on the software contract that runs your entire production floor." Professional courtesy and all that. But then I remembered Patchwork. I remembered the way he laughed when he dismissed my outdated infrastructure. I remembered the way he looked at me like I was obsolete furniture he couldn't wait to dispose of during his corporate spring cleaning. So I let the clock tick. At 3 p.m. on Friday, HR sent me a calendar invite for 3:30 p.m. Subject line: brief discussion. Shane Rodriguez. Location: Conference Room C. No additional details, no agenda, nothing but the corporate equivalent of "we need to talk." This was it. The Friday afternoon firing, the classic corporate execution. Schedule it at the end of the day so the victim can't cause a scene, and the rest of the staff has the weekend to process the change and move on with their lives. Clean, efficient, and utterly predictable. I started packing my personal items. Not much accumulated over 22 years. Just a few family photos, my lucky multi-tool from my Navy days, and a small cactus that had somehow survived despite the fluorescent lighting and recycled air. I wiped my company-issued laptop clean using the same military-grade data destruction software I'd learned about during my service. Not because I had anything to hide, but because I'm a professional, and professionals don't leave traces. I checked the Rodriguez Systems Solutions account one more time. Still 0 pending payments. I stood up, put on my jacket, and grabbed the manila folder I'd brought from home that morning. Inside was the licensing contract, key sections highlighted in bright yellow like a roadmap to justice. Time to visit the principal's office. Conference Room C was a glass fishbowl positioned strategically near the elevators, designed so that everyone walking by could witness your professional execution. Corporate theater at its finest. Brad was there, of course, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed in a pose that probably looked authoritative in his mirror practice sessions, but just made him look like a petulant teenager. Sitting at the conference table was Lisa Parker from HR, a genuinely kind woman who communicated exclusively in apologetic smiles and informational pamphlets about Cobra health insurance continuation. She looked like she wanted to be anywhere else in the world, possibly at the bottom of the ocean where the pressure would be less crushing than this meeting. "Please have a seat, Shane," Lisa said gently, using the tone veterinarians reserve for nervous animals. "Thank you for making time for us on short notice." I sat down slowly, like a man with nothing to lose, because that's exactly what I was. I placed my manila folder on the polished conference table where it sat like evidence at a trial. Brad eyed the folder suspiciously, then smirked with the confidence of someone who'd never had a plan backfire spectacularly. He probably thought it was a desperate attempt to present performance metrics or testimonials to save my job. Amateur. "So Shane," Brad started, not bothering to let Lisa handle the conversation professionally, "we've been conducting a comprehensive evaluation of our team composition and organizational structure. As we transition toward this high-velocity cloud-native operational model, We're finding that certain skill sets and approaches don't align with the strategic trajectory of the organization. Trajectory, I repeated slowly, nodding like I was absorbing profound wisdom, like a rocket aimed directly at the ocean floor. Brad's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. The mask was starting to slip. We're terminating your employment with Helv Manufacturing, effective immediately. Lisa has prepared all the necessary paperwork. We're offering a standard severance package, 3 weeks' pay, which is quite generous considering the circumstances. We'll need your company badge and laptop returned before you leave the building. Lisa slid a stack of papers across the table with the efficiency of a dealer at a casino. We also require your signature on this non-disclosure and non-disparagement agreement to receive the severance benefits, she added, her eyes focused on her hands rather than meeting my gaze. I didn't touch the papers. I kept my eyes locked on Brad's face, watching for the moment when reality would hit him like a freight train carrying 22 years of accumulated karma. Just to be absolutely clear, I said, my voice steady and carrying the authority that comes from having nothing left to lose, you're terminating our professional relationship completely? No consulting arrangement, no transition period, no knowledge transfer sessions? That's exactly what terminated means, Brad snapped, his corporate veneer finally cracking to reveal the arrogant kid underneath. Clean break. We're moving in a different direction, and frankly, we need budget flexibility to hire talent that matches our technological vision. Excellent, I said. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my company badge, and slid it across the table like a poker chip. Then I took the company laptop out of my bag and placed it next to the badge with a satisfying click. As of right now, I am no longer an employee of Helv Manufacturing. Correct, Brad said, pushing off from the wall with visible relief. Security will escort you to collect any remaining personal items and see you out. Wait just a moment, I said, placing my hand deliberately on the manila folder. We've concluded the employment relationship. Now we need to discuss the vendor agreement. Brad frowned, confusion replacing his earlier confidence. What are you talking about? I opened the manila folder with the deliberate precision of a surgeon making the first incision. Inside was the licensing agreement for the core manufacturing execution system, signed in 2016, automatically renewed every quarter for the past 7 years. I spun the document around so both Brad and Lisa could read the header clearly. I don't work for you, Brad. I never really did. My company, Rodriguez System Solutions, LLC, licenses the technology that runs your production scheduling, your inventory management, your vendor payments, and your payroll processing. I was just part of the service package, premium on-site support included in the licensing tier. Brad's face went through several interesting color changes as he processed this information. He picked up the contract, scanned the first page, and tossed it back down like it was contaminated. This is just some ancient paperwork from when the company was small. Legal boilerplate. We own everything you developed while employed here. Intellectual property assignment is standard in every employment contract. Actually, I said, tapping section 4 with the patience of a teacher explaining basic math to a particularly slow student, please read the highlighted portions. All code, architecture, algorithms, and system designs remain the sole intellectual property of the licensor. That's Rodriguez System Solutions, LLC. The licensee, that's Helv Manufacturing, is granted a non-exclusive, revocable right to use the software, contingent upon timely payment of licensing fees and strict adherence to usage guidelines. I watched his eyes move across the legal language, saw the exact moment when comprehension hit his brain like a brick through a window. But his ego was too massive to accept what he was reading. In Brad's world, developers were interchangeable parts. Companies owned everything. Contracts were just formalities. This is ridiculous, he sputtered, his carefully maintained professional facade cracking like ice under pressure. You've been on our payroll for years. That automatically voids any previous arrangements. Check with your legal department, I said calmly. I was classified as a 1099 independent contractor for the first 3 years, then transitioned to a W-2 employee structure purely for administrative convenience, as specified in Addendum C, signed by your founder. But the intellectual property rights never transferred. Rodriguez System Solutions maintains full copyright ownership registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. I stood up slowly, enjoying the moment more than I probably should have. Here's your current situation, Brad. You just terminated your on-site technical support. That's perfectly fine. I was getting tired of that terrible coffee anyway. But you've also failed to make the quarterly licensing payment that was due 6 days ago. That constitutes a material breach of contract. I'm not paying you a single penny, Brad hissed, his face turning an impressive shade of red that clashed badly with his expensive shirt. This is extortion. Get out of this building before I call security and have you arrested. That's your choice, I said, walking toward the door with the unhurried pace of someone holding all the cards. I paused and looked back at Lisa, whose mouth was hanging open in what might have been admiration or horror. Lisa, you might want to export hard copies of all critical payroll and HR data while the systems are still accessible. Just a friendly professional suggestion. I looked at Brad one final time. Section 6, Brad. I strongly recommend you read it carefully. Unauthorized use of licensed software following a material breach of contract results in immediate suspension of service. You have 72 hours to cure the breach, but since you just fired the only person who knows how to maintain the system architecture, well, I'd say your window is considerably shorter. Get out, he screamed, his composure completely shattered. I walked out of that building for the last time, past my old corner workspace, past Jordan who was frantically typing code he didn't understand, past the break room with its perpetually broken coffee machine. The late afternoon sun felt warm on my face as I crossed the parking lot to my truck. I drove straight home, poured myself 3 fingers of good bourbon, and set up what I privately called my command center on the kitchen table. I wasn't going to hack their systems. That would be illegal and unnecessary. What I was implementing was strictly contractual enforcement of a binding legal agreement. I opened my laptop and logged into the Rodriguez System Solutions remote administration panel. For 7 years, their servers had been pinging mine every hour with a simple query. Am I authorized to continue operating? And for 7 years, my server had responded, yes, proceed with normal operations. I took a sip of bourbon and reviewed the system status. All green lights across the board. Production scheduling module, active. Vendor payment gateway, active. Inventory management system, active. Employee payroll processor, active. I navigated to the license verification panel and changed the status from grace period to strict enforcement. Then I queued up a single command. Revoke license authorization, 000-1-HELV-MFG. I didn't execute it immediately. The system was programmed to perform automatic license verification Monday morning at 8 a.m., when weekend orders would be processing and production schedules would be updating. I wanted to give them the weekend to enjoy their victory. Monday morning, I was up early, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise through my kitchen window. At 7:55 a.m., I hovered my mouse cursor over the execute button. This wasn't revenge. Revenge is emotional and messy. This was business. This was a property owner changing the locks after a tenant violated the lease and refused to pay rent. At 8 a.m. exactly, I clicked execute. The cascade of red error messages across my monitoring dashboard was beautiful in its simplicity. Production module, unlicensed. Vendor systems, access denied. Payroll gateway, authorization failed. My phone started ringing at 8:12 a.m. I let it go to voicemail, then again at 8:15, then 8:18. By 8:30, I had 17 missed calls and counting. Finally, at 8:45, I answered. Rodriguez System Solutions Technical Support, this is Shane speaking. Shane, this is Michael Foster. The CEO's voice was strained, like a man watching his company collapse in real time. We have a situation. Everything is down. Production has stopped. We're losing money every minute this continues. That sounds serious, Michael, I said, genuinely sympathetic. Have you tried turning it off and on again? The negotiation took 4 hours. Michael wanted to settle for $500,000. I explained that my intellectual property had generated over $180 million in operational efficiency over 7 years, and that a fair market valuation would be $2.2 million for a perpetual license transfer. That's highway robbery, he protested. That's 1.2% of the revenue my systems enabled, I replied. Consider it a very expensive lesson about reading contracts and treating your technical staff with respect. The wire transfer hit my account at 1:47 p.m. I immediately updated the license status to perpetual, full ownership transferred, and watched the green lights return across their dashboard. 3 weeks later, I was sitting across from Rebecca Turner, the CTO of Vanguard Logistics, Helv's biggest competitor. She'd heard rumors about what happened and was very interested in my next project. "I can't give you the old system," I explained. "Helv owns it now, but I've been working on something new, next-generation architecture, designed from the ground up for modern manufacturing. It would make their system look like a pocket calculator." 6 months later, Vanguard's new system was processing orders 40% faster than Helv's legacy infrastructure. Brad Wilson had been quietly transferred to a consulting role, which is corporate speak for professional exile. Jordan Walsh lasted 3 months before finding a position at a startup that appreciated his enthusiasm more than his results. I work from home now, consulting for 3 different companies, making more in a month than I used to make in a quarter. My bourbon is better, my coffee is better, and I never have to attend another meeting about synergistic optimization. The best part? Every system I design now has the same licensing structure. I learned from the Navy that you always need an exit strategy, and corporate America taught me that you better own the keys to your own kingdom. That manila folder is framed on my office wall now, right next to my honorable discharge certificate. Section 4. The paragraph that bought me early retirement and taught a Harvard MBA that experienced Trump's arrogance every single time. Some lessons cost $2.2 million to learn, but they're worth every penny. In a world that worships youth and innovation, never underestimate the power of a man who built the foundation and still holds the blueprints. The most dangerous opponent isn't the one who talks the loudest, it's the one who knows where all the switches are hidden.